Hey, hello everybody. Happy Monday. This is Dr. Ken Mewich and the Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic. I hope everybody had a wonderful and safe St. Patrick's Day weekend and everybody's ready to go on this wonderful Monday. I am going to cover the subject of proper exercise and safe exercise for fibromyalgia patients. But again, I've got to start out with something here before we cover that. And that has to do with something concerning your automobile insurance. My background, believe it or not, in another life or two, was actually in insurance before I went back to school and finished my degree in science and chiropractic. And automobile insurance is something that is very competitive, and everybody wants to. All the agents want to make sure that they have their automobile insurance policies under themselves. Those that sell casualty insurance. And one thing that they really don't tell you is something that has to do with you personally. You know that everything on an automobile policy that is required, that's bodily injury, property damage, uninsured motorists, those are the things that are required, at least in Arizona and most other states, really don't cover you. They have nothing to do with you personally. They have to do with the other people. They have to do with their automobile, their property, so forth, and make sure you don't cover it. But as far as you and your body, has nothing to do with you. And yet, probably the least expensive coverage that you can have on your insurance, automobile insurance, is something that covers you and your body, not the other people, and not your car, not that metal monster, or well, actually, it's not metal anymore, that cardboard box that you drive around. It has to do with medical insurance. Now, I want everybody to raise their hand that has medical insurance that has no deductible. Well, maybe Medicare, a few of you, but otherwise, everybody has deductibles. Matter of fact, in my clinic, there's so many people that have high deductibles, they're ridiculous. I mean, you'd have to be near death before it really covers you. You wonder why you're even paying anything, right? And yet the least expensive thing, except for maybe towing might be a few dollars less, least expensive thing that is on an automobile policy is medical insurance, MedPay. It pays you for first dollar coverage if you're at fault in the accident or not, believe it or not. And it covers for each individual within your car. So if you have a family, say husband, wife, and some children, it covers you for each one of those individuals. Okay, and so you have to understand that, because I can't tell you how many people come in with automobile accidents and they end up having no MedPay coverage. Their medical coverage is so far out of whack, for crying out loud, that it pays really nothing. And so oftentimes you have to pay, you have to end up maybe sometimes paying for things out of your pocket that are ridiculous, that you don't really need to have to take care of. And yet the medical pay is ridiculous, for crying out loud. It's less than going out for maybe even lunch, for one lunch, and yet it pays for the entire amount of medical pay. And that's very, very important also, because you don't have to have an automobile accident to to collect MedPay. Most policies, if you read it in itself, if you're injured from the auto itself, let's say you smash your hand in a car door, let's say the hood of the car comes down and whacks you and you get injured, that's MedPay, believe it or not, that you can actually be covered for in most policies. Hey, look, some automobile insurance companies try to nitpick you and nickel and dime you, so forth and so on. Hey, listen, I understand. I worked for them, and it was embarrassing many times. The best thing that you can do for your auto policy is look to see what you're not covered for. Not what you're covered for, but what you're not covered for. Then you'll know what you're covered for, because all the other things should be covered. That's the easiest way to look in insurance policy. So make sure you spend a few dollars, but get something that covers you and your body, your tissue, okay? And not that cardboard box or metal mount, whatever you want to call it, that automobile, and all the other people, that may have caused the accident. That's ridiculous. You don't need to deal with that. So that's my hint for the day, to make sure you take care of yourself. So let's take a look at exercise for fibromyalgia patients. when I say exercise, right away, many people, and I've seen them that come in and say, I can't exercise, not with this condition, and many other conditions. We're talking about osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, so forth and so on. But there is proper exercise. I mean, good stuff that you could actually use on yourself. Look, if you don't use it, you lose it, whether it be range of motion, whether it be strength, you name it, okay? So what you got to do is you have to think simple, okay? I always tell patients you want to stretch before you strengthen. And you can do a lot of that in bed. You don't need to be up and put gym clothes on and all these different things. You can stretch in bed. Just stretch your arms, stretch your legs, and so forth, and bring your knees up a little bit and move your joints around. You're oiling the joints. I've talked to you about this before as far as the conditions are concerned. Those are all exercises. You're getting your body prepared for the just gravitational pressures oftentimes they go through. And many of you might say, you don't think you understand. I can't hardly do anything. Yes, you can. Just think about it. Now, as far as your hands are concerned, just going like this with your hands, okay? Everything below pain. If you can't do this, then go as far as you can and below pain. Because if you don't do this, then you're going to lose more and more range of motion until finally, you're going to be hardly able to do this. So make sure you don't lose what you already have, okay? That goes for your toes also, believe it or not. Let's say you're laying in bed or sitting somewhere and so forth. That's all you have to do is flex and extend your toes, for crying out loud, like this, and then your ankles, and then your legs and your knees. All of those things are extremely important. You want to get that oil in the joints before you get up and start moving, okay? That includes, if, say, for example, you're in a chair, you're immobilized, you're in a wheelchair, but you still can get up, so forth and so on. Or let's say you're in a wheelchair, but you really can't move. Still, you can move the joints just by opening and closing your legs and moving your arms and legs and so forth. Let's not forget the neck, okay, to move back and forth and so forth, and tilt one side and the other, and look up and look down. All of those are motions that you should have before you lose that motion. That's extremely important. So I always tell patients, again, stretching before you strengthen, and walk before you run. Look, everything is a step-by-step procedure, especially when you've got a condition, regardless if it's fibromyalgia or some other health condition that is minimizing your work. Or let's say you just had surgery, or let's say you had an accident, okay, and you're coming out of it. Again, move those joints that you can move. Otherwise, the body, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. I'm telling you, you're going to lose that motion, okay, even over a short period of time. And age has an important aspect involved with that. So when we're talking about exercise for fibromyalgia patients, we're really talking about a lot of real simple things, okay? You don't want to be a stick. You don't want to be so rigid as a stick so that when you start feeling better, you're really behind. You don't want to do that. It's like getting a frozen shoulder. Frozen shoulders are horrific, but you need to move the joint as much as you can below pain, or up to that point of pain. That way you won't lose that, and you'll have more flexibility and less to work with when you can actually move. All right, bending over, whatever it might be, just a little bit at a time. Subtle squats. I've talked about exercise before, but now I'm really into making sure that all of my patients have some mobility, mobilizing their joints to make sure they don't lose what they already have. So you want to stretch before you strengthen. You don't want to all of a sudden go back and start lifting weights or doing the things you were doing before, either an accident or an illness, because you're going to injure tissues. The idea between stretching is taking your tissue and stretching it that was short. Because if you have short tissue and you go to stretch it, or you get exercise, bang, you're going to tear it. And then you're going to have more pain, and it's going to take you longer to heal, okay? So you got to make sure all your joints are stretched out, and all your muscles and tendons and so forth are stretched out, okay? So that when you need to use them, or you want to use them, that you're not going to injure yourself. That's the key. See, injuries occur because of, well, I've had so many patients say stupid mistakes. Well, it's not stupid mistakes. It's just the fact that I'm just giving you ideas on how to minimize certain things. That's the most important thing. Make sure that you take and do your exercise. I'm trying to look at, say, bring them on camera. Okay, Nancy can, okay. All right, so I keep on getting a message that says, okay, bring on camera. Hi, Nancy. Hello, Asia. How are you? Hope everything is going well for you. AJ, I see you on Facebook all the time. Nancy, it was a lovely picture of you and your husband and the wonderful words that you had. Speaking of your husband, I'm so sorry that he's no longer with us, but lots. You have the family to always depend upon, and that's the most important thing as far as support is concerned. So anyway, that's the idea behind us is that as we mature, you know, I don't like to use that OLD word. We're all maturing, okay? Everybody's getting older. Hey, the day after you're born, you're getting older, okay? But the maturation process is what oftentimes that we lose. We have this loss of, again, mobility. It was interesting, this weekend I was at a pre-St. Patrick's Day party and there was a baby there. And I was kind of watching the baby. I was crawling and it was rolling over and it was like Gumby. It was all over the place. It was just wonderful just taking a look at this lovely baby and seeing the mobility it had. Didn't have the strength, but it had the mobility, all right? But we can't do that. You know, most of us can't just kind of get on, you know, a rug or something like that and roll around. It might take us 5 minutes to get up, all right? Even myself, as I'm maturing, I have to work on those weaknesses that I know that I have. I exercise. I try to exercise 4 or 5 times a week, at least anywhere from half hour to an hour. That's the key. Make sure that you have some time in which you spend to exercise and strengthen. It might be 2 10-minute exercise periods, one in the morning and one later on in the afternoon, or one in the morning, one in the evening before you go to bed. I always like to stretch a little bit after the end of the day because gravity itself actually compresses down on you. I don't know if you knew that or not. And so gravity will actually adversely affect you, especially you have a wearing of the joints and so forth. Did you know that you are probably anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches taller in the morning after your body has kind of absorbed all that fluid in between the joints than you do later on in the day or evening? If you were to measure yourself, you'd find that you're shorter because all those discs and joints compress down, and so you don't have that weight anymore. You don't have that cushiness, so to speak. Think of your discs a little bit like I always mention, like sponges. You know, when you first get a sponge, it's real nice and flexible and everything else, and then as you start using it, what happens? If you don't put it in water, it hardens, right? Doesn't it? But as soon as you put fluid in it, that gets real fresh again. Well, that's like your discs as you mature. What happens is that those discs get harder, okay? So what helps them to get more flexible? Motion, okay? Motion, movement, okay? Exercise, stretching, so forth and so on. Between every one of the joints, whether it be in your fingers or toes or knees or ankles, whatever, make sure that you move those because the joints in between produce fluid, actually oil that's maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 times slickerier than anything man can produce, believe it or not. That's what allows you to do this, okay? Or if you can't do that, start working on it and try to get increase every day and try to keep yourself out of trouble, so to speak, from getting worse. Again, the old adage, if you don't use it, you lose it because you haven't been using it, okay? And if you don't use it, the body automatically says, oh, okay, you don't need it, so we'll just kind of tighten up on it, we'll shorten things. Now, also, you can give yourself light, what's called peripheral massages. Okay, you know, you've gone to a massage therapist, whatever else, and many fibromyalgia patients, you get a massage and then I don't see them for a week because they can't get out of bed. But you can actually go like this, just nice and easy, and just even if you massage like this across your arms or your legs and so forth, that's peripheral massage, and that's really important because you have blood that's not only deep within your body, but also peripheral, or right on, just above, just below the line of the tissue. And that's important that we keep that moving also. So those are some really important things that I think you can do to exercise without exercise, so to speak. I've had, some therapists say, oh, have them come in and, man, I'll work that pain right out. Oh, forget it. Not for fibromyalgia patients. It's totally different. So if somebody's suggesting exercise to you, I would strongly suggest that you ask them in detail exactly what you had in mind, okay? What do you have in mind as far as exercise for me? I see mature individuals that work out where I work out with trainers, and I wonder if this trainer really knows that he might be injuring this person, trying to have them lift heavy weights and do all sorts of things rather than stretching. So how much do you stretch? Well, you should try to stretch anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes a day.
I know. Okay, so how about 3 5-minute periods? Okay, you do your arms and legs, and you can do your hands, and then your neck and body, and so forth. You don't have to do it all at one time. All right. The idea is to get it in though, and it's going to do nothing other than, number one, stop you from having further problems, stop you from having injuries. Okay, further injuries, and when you do start feeling better, okay, what's going to happen is you'll need less work to get back to normal. Okay, that's very, very important. So I want to thank you very, very much today for joining me. I try to bring in exciting information that will help individuals regardless of whether it be fibromyalgia or other related conditions. And what did I say? Every fibromyalgia patient has other conditions, okay? And fibro makes those usually worse. So we're trying to help you through a lot of other things that are secondary oftentimes, along with the fibromyalgia itself. You know, I love working with fibromyalgia patients in that I know that if they follow the protocol, that they will get better. The hard part is following the protocol. Even those that have been at it for years, they have a tendency to get lax and just kind of start doing their own thing and so forth. But we put them right back on a pre-protocol bingo, and within a week or two, they start feeling better. And that's the most important thing. I want to thank everybody. Have a great week. Enjoy yourself. I am, that's for sure. The weather's going to get a little bit better. We're stabilizing, it appears. It looks like most of our, shall we say, storms are over with. I'm so sorry for those people in the Midwest, Nebraska, and so forth. I was just looking at the unbelievable flooding and the storms that they had, and up and down. They must really be suffering. I feel very, very badly for these people. We're very, very fortunate in Arizona that our extremes are not that extreme, let's put it that way. And probably Arizona is probably the best place for fibromyalgia patients because other than this winter, which we haven't had a winter like this, I bet you in 20, 30 years, we only have 2 seasons, and that is hot and moderate. And for fibromyalgia patients, that's fantastic because weather changes, whether it be wind, rain, barometric pressure changes, cold, you name it. Those things adversely affect fibromyalgia patients, but it affects a lot of other patients with other conditions. Isn't that right? Those people that have arthritis, various arthritic conditions, and so forth. So if you have any questions, any needs, whatever, I'm also working with patients, as I mentioned last time, long distance. And that's very, very important. And I will continue training doctors in a variety of areas throughout the United States, either going there or online, which I've been doing. Thank you very, very much. If you know anybody that needs assistance, fibromyalgia, check the Fibro Wellness Center or Fibromyalgia Wellness Center website, or you can always call my clinic, 480-948-4955, 480-948-4955. We don't charge for phone calls, and oftentimes we just give free consultations if people are confused, so forth, when they come in. Thank you so very, very much, and have a great day. Asia and Nancy, thank you very much for joining. And anybody have any comments, don't be afraid, just send them right in, and I'll answer them as we go along. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. See you next Monday, 12:30 p.m. with another exciting program of information. Bye-bye now.